You ready, George?
Let's give it a go.
Let's do it, Darce. It's the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer.
Hey, Darce, how are you?
Hey, by the time you people see this, it'll be April.
It will.
It'll be April Fool's Day, and we're not fooling you. Well, maybe we are fooling people.
UCLA's been fooling me.
I think I saw, speaking of, as long as you brought up college basketball, we might as well start there. I think on the ESPN they had 14.9 million brackets, and 1,408 people had the Final Four right.
Wow.
Now, I'm okay that you had Houston and Gonzaga and Baylor. I'm okay that you have those. But you really got to check your senses, or you must bleed some type of blue, or you really went to UCLA to have picked them to get to the Final Four. But I commend your loyalty or your stupidity, one of the two, whichever one that is.
It was really quite remarkable. I was first in my group for 3 days, and at the end of yesterday, I went to 12th.
Huh.
And it was just like, I blame UCLA, and it's.
Well, UCLA has a lot to do with that. I had Florida State winning that bracket, and of course that part of the bracket, and of course they lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
And when Michigan, what's the right word? Not manhandled, did what they did to Florida State. I thought, okay, it doesn't matter what the other team, whoever UCLA, whoever's on the bottom half of that bracket, it doesn't matter because Michigan's going to the Final Four because they played so well against Florida State. So I was shocked last night, especially when Michigan took the early lead. I was, of course, multi-channeling last night because there was boys hockey on, and there was women's basketball, women's basketball, and of course there was girls basketball on the internet that Grand Rapids was playing last night that I was paying attention to, and all this other stuff that was going on. And that was actually 2 nights ago, or the Sunday night, excuse me. Last night, and when Michigan got up like 12-4, I forgot where I was going with that story. Sorry, everybody. I'm like, here we go again. Michigan is going to absolutely throttle them. This is going to be all over. And I went away for about 10 minutes, and I came back, and UCLA was ahead 18-15 or 18-17, and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. They're going to pull it off again.
Get within a basket or two, went ahead a couple of times, and then bam! It was like grabbing smoke. It just disappeared. It was a good rebounding, good defense.
Why such poor decision, poor shots? I can't say that Franz's shot 3-pointer was a bad one, but the rebound and the throw up thing. I mean, don't these kids understand how much time is left on the clock?
I don't know, but I tell you, this Johnny Weinson, he ties up his headband really tight and goes out there and kicks butt. He's had really 2 really good games, and you're going to have to get superlative performances to beat a good team. I'll tell you what, I picked that bracket to go all the way through because I thought Michigan State was going to beat them, and I thought Michigan State could get hot. But
that's exactly what I was thinking. As a matter of fact, I didn't fill out my bracket till Friday morning till I knew that Michigan State was going to lose to UCLA because I was sure Michigan State was going to make the kind of run that UCLA is making.
So I was close, but that far away.
Yeah, it's you think that they had to play the extra game.
Yeah.
They had to play 3 times that weekend instead of 2 like everybody else, and give them credit. They've made a run. They've got a lot of confidence going. They got a lot of tongues wagging.
They do.
But I would suspect that when Gonzaga gets a hold of them in a couple of days.
I'm going to tell you, Drew Timme is as much fun of a college basketball player as I've seen for a long time.
He does too much of this. He's too enamored with his mustache.
It's called the stash.
I
like the stash. You've got to have a stash to appreciate it. I'm just telling you that.
I think he's enamored with himself a little too much. He needs to.
Well,
anyway.
We can talk about that a little bit later. But I tell you, he had 23 points, and he controlled the paint. Had a nice jumper from outside. He put together, and then Corey Kispert also had a really good game, and you're going to get a good effort from Suggs. Whether or not the 3 of them can carry this, I mean, think about this. They are going to go for the first time in, 45 years for an undefeated season.
Huh?
It's not that easy to do, even this kind of season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess I've already got them in the final because I don't think UCLA can stand up to them, and you know, now you got two Texas teams on the other side, and the whole battle there, and Baylor's looked pretty good.
They do.
And not that Houston's looked bad, but obviously Baylor would be considered the favorite. Then wouldn't it be something that if we got the number 1 and number 2 teams?
Yes.
Basically, Gonzaga and Baylor were number 1 and 2 basically the whole season.
Yeah.
And so if it all works out like it's supposed to, we would get that in the national championship game, and that would be a rarity, and that would probably be the right thing for college basketball because those two teams probably should probably be playing for it.
You know, I mean, you know, Duke and Kentucky, we've changed teams here. The whole thing has taken a twist. So we got our audience back.
Yeah, absolutely. He's in the house. He's eating popcorn. He's got a cold beverage. So, he was a little tardy. He missed the start of the show, but you know, now he's here. So now everything's.
All you sports nerds are alike. You'll do anything for talking sports and a glass of beer.
There you go.
Anyway, but you know, Suggs had. You know, he had 18 points, 10 rebounds, 9 and 8 assists, and somebody said, if he's not the first round draft pick, if he's not the number 1 draft pick in the NBA, you know, and I know that you're a little bit mad at him. He's just an incredible talent.
He is.
He is not the most incredible talent in the 2 tournaments, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, who are you giving that to?
I'm giving it to Paige. Paige Booker is just. Have you seen a better women's basketball player than Paige?
I don't disagree with you. But there's something that is stuck in my mind now for a couple of nights because she had a chance to ice that game way more than once. It should have never come down to the non-foul call, and I call it not a non-call. I call it the non-foul call on Connecticut because they absolutely clobbered that poor woman from Baylor. She missed 5 shots in a row at the end of the game.
She also scored 10 of the last 19 points in their run. And so, and on top of that, if I were a coach and somebody says, who are you going to give the ball to?
Oh, no. And like I said, you know, she's the National Player of the Year. She's the National Freshman of the Year. She's this, and this, and this. She's everything that we knew she was probably going to be. But those 5 missed baskets at crunch time, like I said, to basically seal the game, to put Baylor away after they went on that 19-0 run. 19-0 run. She could have put the dagger to it, the ending to it. And I'm not saying she's told anybody, whatever. I'm just saying I expected 2 out of those 5 shots to go in. 3 out of those 5 shots to go in.
Yeah, we expect when she shoots and they all go in.
That's the thing. That's what we expected from Michael Jordan, right? We expected it from Kobe Bryant. We expected it from those types of superstars.
All Anderson's kids, they were all like
there
that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, having said that, yeah, she's still pretty good.
Okay,
did they get lucky though?
I just want to go back to that Gonzaga USC game for a second. I tell you what did that was I was kind of surprised that Gonzaga came out with a pressure defense right off the bat. I think they controlled the Mobley brothers on the wings, and they had a hard time setting up their half-court offense. And you know, if you don't have transition, you only have half court. Those are your 2 choices. And I saw that pressure defense really putting the crimp on SC. So
yeah, I agree. Gonzaga is not they can score like crazy, but a lot of that is because of the defense and what they get done. So having said all that, they're pretty doggone good. What like I said, so.
Yes.
How about this non-foul call? I don't know. I don't want to belabor the point, but do you agree with me that it was a non-call, that it should at least have gone to the free throw line?
I'm going to tell you, I don't think the referees wanted that game to be decided on a free throw.
And here's I understand what you're saying. Here's my problem with that. If you're going to this is the same thing with hockey games. Tell me how, we're going to come back to the basketball, You tell me how UMD and UND play 5 overtimes. They play 8 periods of hockey, parts of 8 periods, 7+ periods of hockey. And in the final 4+ periods, they don't call one penalty in the game. Not one. Now you're telling me that these nice young boys who aren't competitive at all, who want to be whatever, did not commit a penalty in those 82 minutes of hockey?
No, they.
What? So why?
They don't.
Why are they reffing the game different in the last 2 minutes or in overtime?
No, but for sure, it was a questionable call.
Oh.
But whether or not.
I wonder how her nose is still today, because I think it got flattened against her face. That's what I saw, and I don't care who wins that game. I really don't.
I did.
Hey, if Paige loses this year, guess how hungry she gets? Guess what she does next year? If she loses this year, think about what she'll do next year.
I noticed she drove by the sidelines and patted her coach on the butt. She shouldn't have done that.
Well, they're buddies, they're pals, they're amigos.
Yeah.
But I think she got them. I think she got my message. I think about 2 months ago we were on Zoom and I begged her to play with more emotion, to show that she was enjoying the game, that she loved what she was doing. What have I seen over the past couple of weeks? She's screaming, she's yelling on the floor, she's smiling, she's not this robot. Thank you.
And you had to enjoy between her and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of that because I was a little busy, but good stuff.
Yeah, it is very good stuff, and it's one of those things where we keep on going back. We have all these kids on a national stage. We have 3 out of the 4 final Frozen Four. About 70% Minnesota kids right now, and then not to mention wrestling and track and all the rest of that. We seem to be in a golden age of sports here in Minnesota, and it's just and I think Paige and Caitlin and Suggs, they kind of epitomize that, and then they came up with
Do you think they'd let us adopt Spencer Lee as a Minnesota? No, I don't think so. Never mind.
I've got a couple of things to say.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We can get to that.
We're definitely bouncing around. We're keeping you hanging in there.
Yes.
Did you watch Stanford and Louisville last night?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I watched the other one.
Stanford is women's team.
Yeah.
Is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. At halftime last night, I think they were like 2 for 12. And then like midway through the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, they were like 3 for like 20 something. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't miss. I think they could have thrown one like this from half court, and it would have went in. Here's what is scary about the women's game. Okay, a lot of the top seeds make it. But the men's did this time as well. But you look at Baylor, they were 28-2. They were a 2 seed. Louisville came in like 26-2. They were a 2 seed. They'd been number 1 in the nation at certain times during the year. There was about 6 or 7 teams.
In South Carolina, they were the only ones to beat Connecticut.
And so you start looking at it and you're kind of going, wow. The top 6 or 8 teams all could have, they kind of beat their brains out getting to where they were getting, and Arizona's really the only one that kind of swooped in, and the first time they're ever going to be at the Final Four, and they get UConn.
They also scooped in with a 6'8" center.
Well, that helps. That helps.
This is where women's basketball has really taken a turn in the last 20 years. They not only run the court very well, they shoot extremely well.
Shooting is amazing.
They're smart and rarely get in trouble with school. They've got a lot of things going for them. I'm telling you. And Anderson here, he coached girls for a long time, and I'm proud of your girls. Always proud of your girls.
Anything else you want to talk about basketball before we talk specifically about Gopher basketball for a moment?
No, not really.
Did you see that the Gophers already got their first transfer?
They did.
Jamison Battles
from De La Salle.
From De La Salle. Geez, a Minnesota boy coming home from George Washington. He averaged like 18.5 points a game this past year.
He didn't get recruited, and remember, Ben Johnson has an attachment to De La Salle, and so he calls up
just a little
the coach, and a little bit. Hey, what do you got in mind? and well, such and such, Jameson is going to go to the portal. And wow, he climbed all over that. This portal thing, I'm starting to look at the possibility that this could be abused.
Well, yeah, it's free agency, isn't it? I mean, isn't it? It's free agency for college kids, and what I don't know if they're investigating is, if I'm a college coach at college B and you're at college A, and I hear that you might be thinking about, do I have a backdoor third person that says, hey, Coach B over there is looking for you to transfer. Would you be interested? And all of a sudden you get in the transfer portal, and as soon as I see your name, boom, just like Wyatt Ulrich, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes, he put his name in the transfer portal last spring. 90 minutes later, the Richmond Spiders are on the phone with him saying, would you like to come here? We'd love to have you come. I mean, this is how fast things are happening.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy.
Well, and it's not going to, I mean, when you take a look, you ask, Jalen Hurt, for instance, leaving Alabama and going to Oklahoma, was that a career move? Or did he want to get a better education?
Yeah. It's definitely, it's crazy stuff.
It is,
so.
yeah.
And of course, the NCAA will come up with a new terminology for it in about 2 years. Just when we get used to using transfer portal, they'll start using it as the transfer vacuum, or I don't know. They'll change it up to something.
Right now, this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, they're conservative. They're not going to want to give the car keys to the students, and that is going to be very upsetting to the
NCAA went to the Supreme Court today and didn't do very well.
Didn't
they? I think they got questioned pretty hard about the things that they're doing. This is going to get interesting over the next couple of years, maybe 3-4 years, by the time all this gets decided. So we'll talk about the Supreme Court thing next week, because all the stuff that'll come out of it will be out of there. You want to talk college hockey?
Let's talk some college hockey. I've got it up right up there.
Did you make it to the end of the UMD North Dakota?
I did make it right to the bitter end.
You did nod off like somebody else I know did a couple of 3, 7, 10 times?
I might have nod off between the periods, because it takes them 20 minutes, 18 minutes to do the ice.
Hey, I'll tell you, it was a battle. The third period, or the third overtime period, I'm sitting in the lazy boy in the basement, and I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, I need to get up and go for, in between the third and fourth overtimes, I'm like, I got to get up and go for a walk or something. And in my brain says, no, you should just go lay in bed and just watch it on your phone.
Yeah.
Dumb. Poor move. As soon as you get into bed, you pull that cover on. Whew. So I missed about at least a third of the fourth overtime. Although, to be honest, folks, the fourth overtime was pretty boring, because I felt the Bulldogs were just...
Well,
they were just hanging out.
In the middle of the fourth overtime, I noticed that the UMD goaltender, those legs were going, and they were cramping up, and they were not going to be able, and you didn't know how long he had to go. He also went for a split on one, and the other leg just really didn't work very well. And I thought, they got to change this goaltender right now. And I tell you, Scotty listened to me right off the bat. He took it upon himself, but obviously you could see his legs were gone. He's 6'6". There's an awful lot of leg there.
And I'll be honest with you, I think I was napping at that point, and all of a sudden I realized that it didn't say 35 on the shoulder anymore. It said 39, and I'm like, Fanty's in the game. What did I miss? What's going on? Did he get hurt? What?
Doug, look at my T-shirt.
I see.
I was ready. This is from 2011. It goes to show you can get a lot of wear out of an 11-year-old T-shirt. But the Bulldogs really, I mean, they're not as good a team as they were the last couple of years, but they gutted that thing out, and beating North Dakota 5 overtimes. I was proud to be a doggy again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Millimak Luke did a good job. Pulled the trigger on that shot right at the right time, right in between the legs, and it went through the legs. And I have to admit, I was a little surprised at the sportsmanship between the two teams. Not that either one of the teams is a bad sportsmanship-wise. Don't anybody read anything into that. But these are bitter rivals.
They are.
And for them to do what they did at the end of 5 periods was pretty cool, and it gives you hope for the youth.
It does, and I'll tell you what it does also, for years and years and years, the Gophers and North Dakota had the feud. That was totally the feud. For half the players on the North Dakota team were from Minnesota as well. And so, they would do that. Well, now you have UMD, St. Cloud, Omaha, Nebraska, Mankato State, Bemidji. These teams, they can all beat each other. And right now, you would have loved Patrick Rosie the other day on his podcast. Rosie he went to St. Cloud. I didn't know that, but he was sitting around. He says, the happiest moment of my life was when I saw Mankato get that fourth goal against the Gophers. And I at the end of the first period of the Gopher-Mankato game, the Gophers had 3 shots.
Yeah, so I don't know where I read it, if it was on Twitter or in the paper, somebody said as soon as Mankato got the second goal in the period, the clamps went on, boom, and it was over. There was no way Minnesota was going to find a way back into that game. The clamps came on, which is what Mankato can do, and too bad Bemidji didn't pull a second upset and get four Minnesota teams into the Frozen Four.
But of course, who was the star of both of those games for Mankato? It was Ryan Sandlin, and they talked a little bit about. What do you say to a really competent Division I hockey coach that happens to be your father and you live with? I want to go to Mankato. This is.
Yeah.
But the old man, he understood, and when you see the two of them together, they're.
Well, and I think the big thing is it would be very difficult. The Boeheims are getting away with it. It's very, very difficult to play for your father and get the right judgments. And I think, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but they probably made the right decisions. So.
Can I talk about one game in this series?
One game.
One game. Bemidji and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin had all the cards. Your number 1 seed, they're the Big Ten champions. They have this guy named Cole Caulfield. Isn't that just a great scoring name? Cole Caulfield, nation's leading scorer. They are pumped up. They're going to go in there and Bemidji just handled them. They had hardcore defense. Zach Driscoll really turned in a heck of a performance. They had really tight defense, including Tyler Vold, who is the grandson of International Falls native Spike and Carol Vold, class 67. This is their grandson, and number 22. And he was really. See, we got another Falls attachment down there, and they just kind of took this whole away from them. Bemidji dropped the next one, but that game against the Badgers, Wisconsin had 10 players on their team that were drafted by the NHL. The Bemidji, as far as I know, has none as of yet.
Okay.
But they really, if you wanted to have an amateur team against at least future pros, this was the game, and Bemidji took it to them.
Yeah, it seems like you realize that there are no number 1 seeds left.
No.
Out of the 4 teams, none of the number 1 seeds are left over. It shows you what the one and done does and how close these teams are. And anything can happen, and much like what Mankato did to the Gophers, kind of the same thing happened to Wisconsin. Bemidji got that lead, they put the clamps on them, and it just kind of.
Well, and Driscoll kept them out, and he does that periodically. I've seen him play a number of games, and Bemidji's hard to see because we don't get the chance to see their home games anymore. But I knew about Driscoll and I knew about Vold, and I was just really hoping that Bemidji would stay in there and give them a game, and at that level at tournament time, who knows what can pull out, but they didn't. They beat them up. And when I take a look at St. Cloud and what they did to beat BC, pretty much the same. And when I take a look at Mankato against Minnesota, ooh.
So some of the North Dakota people are whining that the Bulldogs had an advantage because they didn't have to play the night before and whatever else. You put any merit to that, you Bulldog fan? You do.
Oh, you bet. They would have had to play Michigan 48 hours. That's the one thing that's happening to schools that drop out and forfeit these games. I can't help but not think that it contributes to the next level of play.
But to me, it looked like North Dakota was the fresher team. Third overtime, fourth overtime, it looked like North Dakota was beating the Bulldogs to every loose puck. So I have a hard time necessarily maybe believing that, but maybe it's just my what's the right word? My uncaring for the North Dakota faithful as they, slobber knock us all the time about blah blah this and blah blah that.
They played American International, which was no power hunger team. So you've got 4 lines that you can skate.
They got a chance to play on the ice. The Bulldogs had. How about that? Yeah, let's throw that one out there.
No, as far as I know, as near as I can figure out, the Gophers won 2-0, or 2-1, and that's the way it should be. My T-shirt says so.
There you go. So, are we going to make any predictions as long as we have on the basketball? We now know the final 4 teams.
Yes.
So Houston versus Baylor. You're taking.
I'm taking Baylor.
Okay, and Gonzaga versus you.
Gonzaga.
Okay, and now we got Gonzaga versus Baylor. We both agree. So who are you taking?
I'm going to take Gonzaga. I got to go with them.
All right, I'm going to go with Baylor. Only because I don't think they can run the table. I don't think it happens.
That is my only thing. It's hard to do.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. All right, how about the women? You got UConn versus Arizona.
Yeah, that is going to be a great game, but UConn's going to win.
South Carolina, Stanford.
Stanford gets hot. In South Carolina, you know that they can play, and they've got a center that's
of all the games. Houston and Baylor is going to be a dandy on the men's side. The women's game, South Carolina, Stanford. That's a toss-up. Does UConn win it all?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think we can agree that that's probably going to happen.
They got an awfully talented group of girls.
They got to make their free throws at the end, though. That poor freshman, I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, she missed 3 free throws.
What do you call that? What do you got to do to win? Threes and frees. You got to get them both.
There you go. Okay. Oh man, where do you want to go? I mean, you want to go to high school?
I'll tell you what. Let's just we'll either go to high school hockey. I've got just a little bit of wrestling I could add.
Ooh, let's do high school hockey. What the heck? Okay. It is the tournament time, and of course we've had some tough COVID cases. We just got done talking about that with Notre Dame and what's their name in men's hockey, and so now we've dealt with it in the high school hockey. Hermantown decided to play their JV. Harold Murray decided not to play their JV and go the suing way and take everybody to court.
Well, I think Hermantown, number one, they put those kids on, and I thought they handled themselves pretty well.
You know, I said this today when we were at school at lunch. We were talking about it. I think if they wouldn't have played, and I'm not faulting the kids at all. I'm sure I'd have been peeing down my leg as well. But I thought they played so apprehensive. Every time they got a puck, it was an icing. It was an icing. I think if they would have played the first 8 minutes of that game with a little cockiness or whatever on it, I think they could have won that game.
A week ago, none of those kids thought they were playing in the state tournament.
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, they had 24 hours to get their bearings together, basically, and then play hockey. So it wasn't easy. I'm not whatever, but yeah, they showed themselves pretty well. And of course, Zam Plant is a nice hockey player that's got 2 years left, and Mr. Lamb is. He's not too shabby either.
No, you take a look at the program they pieced together, and Sue says, do they have a chance? I said, probably not. But who knows what they have sitting on the bench back there? They got a lot of kids, and it's a very successful program.
Yeah, absolutely so. Yeah, my kudos to Hermantown for doing what they did. I thought they took the right road, the right path. Yeah. Playing your JV kids and doing the best you could, and the other road. I saw something that was put out on the Twitter that they're a member of the Minnesota State High School League and they're not happy with the decision and blah blah blah. And I'm like, go Shattuck St. Mary's. If you don't like what's going on, get out. But the rules are in place. So okay, I said what I had to say on that.
Okay, I want to bring up one game.
One game.
Just one game.
One only.
Little Falls and Delano.
Yeah.
Okay, 2-1 Little Falls. Dane Kuchar is the goalie for Little Falls. He had 30.
Why do you guys got to have these international Falls connections when you tell these stories, George?
Well,
because that's all. Because they're all over the place. That's why, right?
Well, I also got to bring up the fact that their junior defenseman, George Moore, I always like to bring in a George my kid, he scored halfway through the third period it was to break a 1-1 tie, and then they played so well and so conservatively and covered their goalie, and they might have sat a little bit on the 2-1, but they knew they had it won. And
Kucher played really well, I thought, in goal.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. I actually watched the double overtime win on my phone.
Okay.
When they won, because it was kind of scary.
You know who got the goal on that one?
George
Moore, yes.
East Grand Forks and Warroad were playing double overtime, and Little Falls and Fergus Falls were playing double overtime at the same time. And I'm like, I should really run downstairs and grab the laptop so I could have both of them on at the same time. But I'm like, I'm going to miss something. I don't want to do that. And I actually got to see both goals get scored live, which I thought was pretty cool. Technology, the things that we can do these days. And obviously Mr. Kucher retiring from coaching at the end. This is it. This is his son's final games, and he is retiring. Matter of fact, for those of you that are interested, they interviewed Kucher this morning on the radio. That interview is available online if you go to the KGHS KSDM webpage or the Twitter or Facebook. The link is there, and you can listen to the whole interview. And I didn't get a chance to, but I'm sure it was. Kucher's always a good interview. I've got a chance to interview him about 6 times over the years.
One of the things that nobody knows about was when my first year teaching up here and first year coaching, I coached the 5th to 6th grade football team, and Tony was my fullback.
There you go.
And he had so much fun playing. He'd play anything. But you heard about him even in 5th, 6th grade that he was going to be a good goaltender, and he was not. He turned into a great one. And then he took over from there. But you see Tony, and you know he's a great guy. You know he's a great coach. And you can't help but pull for him. So, yeah, I give a little shout out to the Falls boys because they do so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hill Murray didn't play this morning, and Lakeville South got the better of Moorhead. It looked like Moorhead was going to win that game, and then all of a sudden it just things fell apart. And we'll have girls hockey on Thursday. We'll have boys hockey on Friday. And we'll have both on Saturday. So. Amongst the madness that's running into April now, things look pretty good.
They do.
So,
they do indeed.
Let's see. Anything else state hockey tournament-wise?
Well, I didn't know about Gentry Academy. They are hell on wheels. They shoot and they score all the time.
Well, this is just their 3rd year in high school hockey.
Yes.
Their mission statement basically states that we're going to promote sports and that type of stuff, and they only play 3 sports: hockey, lacrosse, and baseball. Those are the only 3 sports that they have there.
Well, they got this part down.
They got this part down. Of course, the girls made the state tournament as well. So they basically have said, we are a hockey academy. Not in so many words, but pretty much have said we are here to win hockey state tournaments.
I would like to discuss that with the public school coaches, but that's enough something for another.
We'd have to have a big party there. We'd have to have lots of food because that conversation would go on for days. 9:30ish, and I'm like, it's not a very popular conversation.
It's not. No, it's not.
Should we talk high school wrestling, or let's go ahead and do wrestling, and then we'll finish up with basketball.
Oh, the Dan Hodge Trophy for college wrestling is kind of like the Heisman, and this year they split it 2 ways. Hey, the 2 best wrestlers in college wrestling today: Spencer Lee at 125 pounds, and Gable Stevenson at a whole bunch. And the first thing that Gable said, Spencer Lee is the epitome of greatness in wrestling. This great, big, incredible athlete would like to have the same temperament and attitude of this guy at the other end. So these guys are really are brothers in
Well, you know that your good friend Gable put out a Twitter post, a tweet on Sunday morning. He said, "Big news coming tomorrow morning," and I'm like, "Oh my God, he got WWE's going to offer him like $1 jillion, and he's not going to the Olympics." Well, little did we know that everybody's imaginations got away with him, and it was just that he's the wrestler of the year.
Yeah.
You know, just a little thing. He'll get to that WWE in enough time. The money will still be waiting for him.
Coach Ingham says that he expects that he'll come back, which
I think so. I think so too. The WWE will still be there.
oh yeah.
Oh, it'll still.
And he's what he is, primarily not only a fine athlete, but he's the best showman we've had since Vern Gagne. And he will sell himself, and it's like Stash. These guys have pizzazz, and it's just No, I tell you, you'll.
Sorry about the glare off the top, folks, on that one.
You'll laugh at this, but Mel Allen in 1960 called Roger Maris's 60th.
You've been practicing, haven't you?
Yes, and so he's talking about Maris hitting the 60. Maris hit the 60, ran around, went into the dugout. The crowd stood up and gave him a standing O, and they kept on giving him a standing O, and kept on giving a standing O. His teammates had to throw him out of the dugout. Go take your bow. In 1960, you didn't do that. Well, you do it now, and anytime you get a chance to, you do it. And so Drew is going to be doing that for the next night or so, But
till somebody knocks him down in the NBA, because there's bigger guys than him in the NBA.
Well, there are, but he's riding high right now, and besides, if he gets knocked down, he'll get up with a smile on his face.
I want to hear what you got to say about the state wrestling.
I will.
I want to hear it. You're making me wait. I don't
Well,
like
they had a remarkable tournament. They did it down at St. Michael, Albertville. They did it on 3 successive days.
I still have a problem with that school. You understand why, right? It's spent almost 22 years. I still upset a little bit. Okay, keep going.
But they've grown so much. You can't.
They have.
And so,
they have.
On the first day they had 3A, second day they had 2A, and the last day they had the single A. And they did the individuals in the morning, and then the team in the morning and the individuals at night. And I want to talk about the 2A Simley Spartans.
Yeah.
They're coached by Willie Short. Willie Short, I knew Willie Short when he was just a little short, and his dad was the coach at Osseo High or at Simley High School, and the Shorts put together just an incredible legacy of wrestling there. And Willie was a little one, and I remember I knew the other boys, and I was standing, the 2 boys and the mother were standing there talking, and one boy says, have you beaten Willie up yet today? And the other one says, no. He says, well, it's my turn. And poor Willie, he was this little short guy. Of course, Willie goes on to be a national Olympic champion and Big Ten champion. He all the accolades in the world, and he as a young man, he had an encyclopedic mind of wrestling. But he come out the other day and he says his Spartans were the best public school program in the country. And
it's a big statement.
Well, let's see. He's 28-0. He had 6 state champions. That's over half. That's half your team are state champions. So, and you got to understand, the other half probably aren't bums. He's losing 5
Well,
seniors.
I think they won didn't they win the state
3 times in a row.
They won the state, the dual meeting for the state. I think they won it like 62-6. It wasn't even close.
No,
it wasn't even close.
They've bombed through everybody, and Shorty has put together just an incredible team, and so how does this happen? It says the team is a product of an excellent line of coaches, including his father, started before Willie was born. In fact, it can be argued that the Short family legacy to wrestling is unsurpassed. Congratulations, Spartan wrestlers and coaches. You set incredible standards and have for a long time.
I agree with you. I'm just looking up a basketball score to see if they.
Now these guys don't play basketball with the rip.
Well, the state high school basketball tournament's going on, so there's some games going on right now that are of interest.
I want to tell you, the heavyweight on this Simley team is the #1 recruit for the Minnesota Gophers. They need a replacement, I guess, or somewhere.
Well, he'll get
I would like to go in the room and spend the next 2 years with Gable.
You're either going to get better or die, one of the two. That's what I figure. So, state basketball tournament, of course, the girls got started yesterday. There was one boys game that was decided at a buzzer beater. Fergus Falls banks a three-pointer in to win 44-41. And then the boys basically on for today. So 7 teams from northeastern Minnesota made the tournament, which is pretty cool.
It is.
MIB girls led only once, I think, in the game. That was at 50-49. That was the final score. So they beat Cass Lake Bena. Well, the Duluth Marshall Hilltoppers, they went down to St. Cloud Tech and they played Providence Academy. And I think I mentioned last week on this show about this was on Coach's Corner on Saturday. I mentioned about Providence Academy. They've got a pretty good 7th grader.
They do.
Yeah, her name is Madeline Greenway. Greenway, where have we heard that name before?
There's a school down there.
There's a school down there, but there was a pretty good linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings who just so happens his oldest daughter.
Oh, didn't know that.
She's a Wayzata product, but old Chad didn't like the way things were working in Wayzata, so he moved her over to Providence Academy as a 7th grader. She's averaging 20.4 points a game. She scored 34 last night. Of course, that pales in comparison to Gianna Neepkins, who scored 67. 67 by herself now, folks, not the team from Duluth Marshall.
Lost by 2.
And they lost 94-91 when she scored 67. So state record for a tournament game, state record for a girls in any game, 67 points. So
incredible.
Congratulations to her. She's headed off to the University of Utah. And the Grand Rapids girls, they played Holy Angels last night, and they ran into an absolute buzzsaw. Grand Rapids never was in the ball game. The press got to them early, and they were done. Moose Lake Willow River played earlier today in boys basketball. They got the #1 team in Class 2A. They got Minneapolis North. They hung in. They were only down about a dozen at half. They ended up losing by 29 points. They ended up losing by. So Deer River plays tonight at 6 o'clock. So we got to get out. We got to be done by 6 o'clock so I can listen to that. Hibbing plays tonight. That game, they get De La Salle. Speaking of De La Salle from earlier in the show,
yes.
And Duluth East is playing right now. That's who I was checking on the phone to see how they were faring, but no update there. So Tuesday, Wednesday here, all the quarterfinal games, and then they get a week off. So next week when we come back, we'll be talking about who's going to be playing probably in the state tournaments. So state championship games.
As long as we're talking basketball, I want to ask, how come Minnehaha Academy has all these superstars going through it right now?
Well, I think you answered that question yourself we did about 10 minutes ago when we discussed Gentry Academy and the whole idea of this public versus private versus thing.
So
see, you said the word at the end of it, Minnehaha Academy. Oh, so that means that they're private, which means that they can recruit from everybody in the whole 3 million people that live.
Take a look at the top 5 prospects out of Minnesota. Chet Holmgren, Minnehaha. Prince Alabighi, Minnehaha. Cam Heidi, he's not Wayzata. Trey Holloman, Cretin Durham Hall. And so there's 3 out of the top 5 go to private schools.
And I'm not faulting anybody. They get to make their choice. But yeah, when you put certain schools, when Hibbing has their 700 kids to pick from, and that's the 700 that they've got, and that's what they've got. And then you get down to Minnehaha Academy or Wayzatas or the Hopkinses of the world, and they can bring in all these other people. Yeah, it's a different playing field.
It is.
It's not fair, but I don't see it ever changing. So I try not to worry about it anymore. I used to get worked up over those kinds of things. Now I just it needs to move on. So, anything else high school that we need to discuss?
No, that was a lot of high school.
That was a lot of high school. That was fun. We got to talk about Wyatt Ulrich.
Yes, you do.
So I'm trying to keep the world updated, but Wyatt, we mentioned earlier in the show, got into the transfer portal, ended up going to Richmond, Virginia to play with the Spiders, and the NCAA found a little wrinkle in his past that they didn't like. He played for an amateur team down on the range here a few years ago, a few summers ago, and the NCAA decided that he was ineligible for 12 games. I'm getting that story secondhand. That's a very abbreviated version, so if I've offended somebody with that version of the story, I apologize, but that's kind of the crux of it, okay? So he was not eligible until Sunday. Sunday was the first day he played, okay? So he's in the starting lineup. He only goes 3 for 6, only I say, because it gets better. 2 RBIs and a run in the game. Yesterday, they're playing Norfolk State. He goes just 4 for 6, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And I ask, and I've been saying this on my Twitter and Facebook posts, if you don't follow me, where you been? Where are you? When are they going to be able to get him out of the lineup? Because this is what he's done everywhere. They put him into the lineup, and then he starts going 7 for 12. Okay, that's 583, folks, batting average through 2 games.
That's a whole bunch, yeah.
Yeah, he's got 6 RBIs and 3 runs scored. So I asked, when will the Richmond Spiders get him out of the lineup? And I keep saying they won't. They can't, because this is what he does. Doesn't matter what level he goes to, he does this. So Wyatt Ulrich, Mr. Lark, you're the man. And his father demanded that I say something about him on our show because he likes to watch. So there you go, Daryl. And you put out on the Facebook, I don't know if it was this morning, last night, whenever it was, that maybe you're bragging about your kids too much. You keep bragging about your kids. That's what parents are supposed to do. And Wyatt is doing us very proud, and we'll keep talking about him.
Is there any way to catch Wyatt? I mean, do they stream any of these games or anything?
Some of the games are streamed. The last 2 games have not been streamed. That's a lie. Sunday's game was streamed. They had a camera where I would say some bench players were up next to the camera using some less than clean language on the air. I finally had to turn it off because I really didn't want to hear about all the stuff that was going on in Richmond anymore. And nothing against those guys. Just hey, you're sitting next to a camera where the whole thing's going out to the world, and you're using the F word like a sailor. It's probably not the brightest idea.
No, not in Richmond.
So anyway, if you go to the Richmond Spiders schedule, baseball schedule, you type that into your browser, click it. It comes up, and some of their games have been on ESPN Plus and whatever else. So
they'll have a game to break down and things.
Yeah, so you can see when they're going to be playing, and so absolutely, that's something you should be looking forward to.
I catch your Facebook, so I know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
NFL going to 17-game regular season schedule. What do you think?
If I were a player, I'd be pretty upset.
But you get rid of 1 preseason game.
Yeah, it's different.
Because?
Well, because number one, I'm not sure you get paid the same amount if you're for the,
Well, I think that's where the crux of this is going to come. Now they're going to say, hey, I'm not playing 16. I'm playing 17 games for you now.
Yeah.
So now you need to start compensating me. So.
I think that the owners did this, not the players.
Oh, the owners definitely did this.
Yeah.
This was.
They want to go play in Germany.
This partial complaint comes from the preseason games being so abysmal, and now they're going to take one of those games out and add in a regular season game.
Yeah.
So this pushes the Super Bowl back a week. And
in the old days, I was always amazed they play as many preseason games as
they played 6 in the old days.
They played 6 in the old days, and
My question is this: why did the NFL decide to add an a conference game where you play somebody out of the other conference rather than somebody in your own conference? I don't know what their rationale was.
The Vikings, were they going to San Diego?
Yeah, they get to play the Los Angeles Chargers, which of course is where the Super Bowl is at, so they'll get to play their last regular season game. No, that's not a lie. They don't know that yet. They'll get to play in the place where they're going to go win the Super Bowl next year.
See, the Guardian Angels sure on hitting boys basketball.
So, having said that, there you go. So, how about Twins? It's opening day tomorrow. Here we are,
Thursday.
40 minutes into the show, or 50 minutes into the show, and we haven't even mentioned that Thursday's opening day for the Twins.
No, and I actually made a note of it.
Yeah.
Put that down as this Thursday. So who's gonna start?
Kenta Maeda gets the start tomorrow. No surprise there. And Jose goes on Saturday, I think it is. I think they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think.
People are talking to me about this being the best 1-2 punch in baseball right now, and 3 and 4 aren't bad either.
Well, Barrios has got to get his act together. He's finally. We're either going to find out that he's going to be a Twin for a long time, or he is going to go the way of the dodo, so to speak. He's had his chances. He needs to perform this year. He needs to start acting like a number one. 1A with him and Kenta would be outstanding, and we'll see what happens.
Also, they seem to have a pretty good bullpen. You know, and at this point in time, I'll just bring up a point. You know, everybody's thinking they're going to doctor the baseball now because there's too many dingers being tossed. And so I think, you know, here's a guy comes up. It's in the 5th inning. They've already had maybe 1 or 2 pitchers in front of them. So they got a new fresh guy that's throwing all kinds of junk. You may or may not even know who he is. Meanwhile, that pitcher goes out. He has every analytic about every hitter on this team. And that hitter's standing up there, and all of a sudden he's whiffing at a few of them. Even tough to see. And so, you know, them messing with this baseball and doing all the rest of that, I think that's kind of hooey.
That's going to be interesting. They're saying what 1% less flight is what they're expecting out of the baseball this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see if this kind of reins them in. I mean, if you think a guy hits a ball 400 feet, he's only hitting it 4 less feet. I don't know if that's a big enough deal for me to get concerned about, but every time, you know, here we're talking about the Bomba squad, right? Where the Twins who hit 306 home runs 2 seasons ago.
A lot of dingers.
Do you realize that they scored the fewest runs in spring training? And they hit the fewest home runs of any team in spring training.
They were awful.
Patrick Royce is very, very nervous about this Twins team.
Yeah.
He said they will only win 85 games. Chicago White Sox win the division. And I'm just like, I don't like to say that Royce could be right, but I am very concerned about the hitting of this team right now.
Well, Royce,
very concerned.
Royce's going to laugh at my picks then, but no, but it's true. They haven't been able to hit the tater, and until they do, all the pitching in the world, they still got to put some runs up.
They got to put some runs up.
Yeah.
It's a good combination when you score runs and
That's the way it works.
So, of course, they lost their bench coach late last week.
Coach Bell, and went on at young, was it 49 or something?
46 or something, in the 40s to kidney cancer. They found out 6-8 weeks ago only, and he was gone that quick. Just kind of the way the Twins talked about it, the way Rocco talked about this guy and the team. It was heartbreaking to read about. It was very emotional, and they, of course, Kirby 25 years ago announced they, had gotten glaucoma, and they started putting the parallels on what that can do to a team, and we'll see how the Twins come out of this. He was only there for a season and a half or whatever it was, 2 years, and we'll see how things work out. But tough news for the Twins.
Starting right off, you bet it is.
Did you get my text message today? And you took care of it. And see, I fumbled because I didn't write any of them down. I got something in here, but
but I mean, the thing of it is that when you write them down, you look through it. The number one question: are we still mad at Houston?
Well, of course we're still peed off at Houston. That anger will never go away. Last time I've got breath in my body, I will be mad at Houston. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to pick them to win the division.
Well,
are you picking them to win the AL West?
No.
No. Who are you picking to win the AL West then?
I am picking California Angels.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah.
Why so?
Well, because they've made some changes on their team, and they've made some adjustments, and we'll just see.
Okay,
We'll just see.
fair enough.
They were picked number 2 for some of the other teams, and the Athletics.
Athletics,
They always come.
they're
around.
always there. They're always there. So yeah, those 3 teams.
Yeah.
How about the AL East?
The AL East.
Man, this is a tough decision. I
It
know.
wasn't a tough decision.
It wasn't?
It still nauseates me, but
So you're taking the
I'm
Yankees.
taking the Yankees and the Blue Jays as my number 2 pick.
See, if the Blue Jays were getting to play at home
Yes.
in Canada land and all that other stuff, I would agree with you, but I still think Tampa's Tampa. Just like Oakland is always there, Tampa's always there. So,
Yeah,
but it could be all 3 of them.
it could be.
Who knows what they're going to decide for the playoffs? They might decide mid-season to have like 12 teams make and everybody will make it in. So, how about on the NL side? Oh wait, we got to do the Central.
Oh, you want to do the Central?
Or you want to wait with that one? I was gonna.
Oh, you want to wait?
I was gonna wait.
Okay, we can
All right. So let's go over to the NL.
You know, the guru tells me the Cardinals are loaded, and you know.
Oh, you've been talking to Jay Markowski or what?
No, cousin Joey, but he says that they're really loaded, and so I went across the board with the Cardinals, and then of course because the Cardinals and the Cubs are so friendly, I went with them. I went with the Cubs as my second choice, but I didn't like.
What about the Reds? No.
They get rid of all their good guys. You know, I'm not sure just what they're going to stack up. They got a couple of pitchers. They got. I don't know what they're doing down there.
How about the NL East? Who you got?
Jeez.
It's tough.
I got the New York Mets,
Ooh.
and that's
That could
because
be.
every once in a while. They're called Miracle Mets, and boy, I'll tell you, they need miracles.
Sometimes.
So that was I got the Mets, and then I took Atlanta for my second choice.
Okay. The West. I'll go along with those picks, by the way.
Yeah.
I would switch them around though. I'll put the Braves on top and the Mets second.
Well, I think.
How about the West?
I think
Why are we
the Dodgers are the best team in baseball.
again?
They are. And I got the Dodgers, and I got the Yanks winning the pennant.
Oh, wait a minute. We got you ain't giving the Twins. Anyway, keep going. You got the Dodgers and the Yanks, and
The Dodgers will win, and I have down there that the Twins, if the Twins luck out and they make it into the playoffs, they might. They're not going to win a game.
jeez, the streak will continue. So who's winning the AL Central? It's not Cleveland, it's Chicago or the Twins. Who you got?
Well, I got the Twins.
He's got the Twins. I'm going with the Twins as well because we're less athletic than them.
Yes.
And I ain't buying that argument. So I'm going with the Twins. It'll be doggone close
It
though.
will.
It'll may go down to the last day.
Yeah, no, there's going to be some tears with this White Sox team. There's no two ways about it.
Wild, you want anything
Hey,
interesting?
the Wild are wild. They're going to be just fine. You know, these guys, the schedule that they keep up, that's amazing. They're all on IVs and spend nights in hospitals for crying out loud. But you know, as long as they keep and they've lost a couple of those OT shootout things.
Yeah.
And but
First shootout of the year. I mean, they're like 35 games
when
in.
they ran 2 of them.
No, they only won the other night. It was their first one. That's their first shootout of the year. That's incredible to me because, but of course, coaches are getting better at this 3-on-3 overtime business, and
That brings a whole different measure to the game. That 3-on-3. It's really pretty amazing.
It is.
They should do that in basketball.
They should do that in basketball. There you go. There you go. Hey, the Sabres from Buffalo, 18-game losing streak.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yes. The Buffalo Sabres are really having a hard time, and I think they call them the Sabres because Cavalry and Buffalo Bill and all the rest of that stuff. And Sabres aren't going to cut it, so they should maybe even change the name to the.
Timberwolves got Beasley back this week.
They do.
I don't know if that's a good thing. I think maybe he should have stayed away because they seem to have been playing maybe slightly better.
Well, offensively, you figured they would, and they did, but defensively.
Yeah, I know. It's bad. It's bad. I understand. I get it. It's bad. They're going to get fans. Everybody's getting their fans back this week, though. So
As soon as the tournaments are over, I'll get back to some little bit more routine, and I can watch the Wild and the T-Wolves and see where they go from here.
I just don't think the Wild are at the level of Colorado or Vegas. They just aren't there. They hopefully they'll surprise. Hopefully they get better. But right now they just. Yeah, so
They're young. They will pick it up.
So
it is coming.
I hope so. So what do you think about this whole Fox Sports North thing?
Well, you know,
I thought it was a joke. I thought it was an April Fool's thing.
Well, and I thought it kind of was too, and then I talked to the guru down in the cities, and they're all taking it pretty serious down there. And so this had to do with, as it turns out, Fox North had nothing to do with Fox. This is Sinclair Broadcasting, and Sinclair Broadcasting, they run a pretty nasty ship. And so they really don't care about you and me and any of the people that don't. Now, this doesn't affect.
Oh, they care about us as long as we fork over the dough.
The dough seems to be
the number one thing. That is the point. Money.
But I'm not sure what's going to happen. And they had an interview with the guy, and he was talking about. He says, most part, the fan isn't going to recognize any difference. And I thought, we'll see about that. What do they call it? Bally Sports. Bally Sports.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, like they talked. I saw that the biggest thing is you're going to see different colors. Fox Sports is blue and white. We're red and white. So you're going to see some different graphics. You're going to see whatever. Otherwise, I think things are going to stay the same.
That was Bolstead.
That's Bully. Yeah. Bally, whatever. However, they're worried about the gambling part of this because with them being involved with gambling, what's this mean for everybody? So we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting.
Just take a pause and what's going to happen in 5 years in sports, and it's going to radically change. On the other hand, I was looking up some statistics for the state tournament.
Not George.
And you know what I found?
What'd you find out, George?
I found out Willard Eichelaw had the most wins, 616 wins in high school. The most wins by a goalie was 30 wins by Michael Spurl from Little Falls in 2008 and 2007. Okay? But I'm looking over these state tournaments, and I'm looking at the scoring records. Almost every scoring record in there. John Mayasich.
Absolutely.
He was just a scoring dynamo, and these things still stand after 70 years.
He's got competition with Mr. Lamb from Dodge County, though.
Well, he probably does, but the amount of, like 16 hat tricks in state tournament things. John Mayasich, and the gentleman's still alive, and I wish him good health forever, but he must have really been something on the ice.
Yeah, I would guess that's very true.
Played for Eveleth from 1948 to 1951, which in those days he would have started in the 9th grade. So, it was amazing you went on.
We got anything else, sports, or is it time to put a bow on this bad boy?
We can put a lock on it.
What are you reading? We haven't talked about what you've been reading for a couple of weeks. I got to know what's. I know there's lots of sports going in. What's going on war-wise?
War-wise, well, that's the one I just finished up, and that was Margaret McMillan, who's a historian over in Canada, and her father at one time was the Prime Minister of Canada, Harold McMillan.
Okay.
So but Margaret McMillan just wrote an absolutely excellent book about how war and such changed our lives and changed everything that we do. But they was it's called War and How It Changed Our Lives, and it's really just an incredible book. The other book that I'm just finishing up, and this is a book quite controversial. It's written by a Southern man. This guy is an emeritus history professor from West Point and a 25-year Army officer. And the book he wrote is Robert E. Lee and Me.
You told me, I think, about this one.
The story of the myth of the lost cause. And this one right now, with everything that's going on, it's like fingernails on the scratch board, and it's meant to be. It's an incredible book. Now, the other book that I picked up, because I have some bookshelves, is it's about George Thomas, and George Thomas was a Southern man who fought for the North in the Confederacy, and as a tactician and a strategist, he was probably the best the Union had. Nobody ever heard of him.
Wow, interesting.
So I've got plenty of things to do. I am also finishing up a narrative on Sue's uncles and their war experiences. So, but see, this takes a couple days, so I only get a chance to write 1 or 2 days. This summer, when things get cleared up, I'll spend more time writing.
Well, speaking of getting things done, today I got done
What'd you get?
the career, season, and games stats for girls basketball.
Oh, wow.
So this is a new book that I've been working on. Well, I started it about 13 years ago, and I let it go for a little while, and I regained control of it 5-6 months ago, and I put it all together. So your daughter's name is in there a couple times, whatever. For those of you that don't get a published copy, I say, you're not on the basketball team, you can go to the school's website and go to the Touch Pro system on there, go under athletics, and it's in there somehow. Look under sports histories, and it'll be there probably tomorrow if I get time to update the site. But you can go there and take a peek at that, and especially if you're a former girls basketball player, you can see if you made it into the top 20. I did top 20 for all things except for scoring a career. If you got 500 points, your name is in there. Otherwise, it's the top 20 for 2-point baskets, 3-point baskets, free throws, rebounds, assists, steals, block shots, those kinds of things. And of course, it's a little incomplete because back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't take great stats of everything. So some of the stats maybe not be all there, but did the best we could. And if there's stuff out there, I would request that if you were a basketball player, girls basketball player from 1998 to 2003, you should get out your stat book and send it to me. I'll make a copy of it and I'll ship it back to you. And because we're missing like 4 years of like complete stats.
Did we do this one?
We argued through this. Yeah, we've tried to come up with this, and there's no good answer out there. So anyway, Nicole Friend was a pretty good basketball player. Her name is hardly in there because there's no total career stats for her. So, she probably had 100 steals in a season, possibly.
Well, she averaged 3 fouls a game, and she should have had 6.
There you go. So, there's her time frame is missing from the book. But anyway, hopefully this spurs some people on, and maybe we'll get that information and we'll get it all updated. But Jay just got the final stuff done today, got it to me, and I was able to put the things together, and like I said, be able to post it tomorrow, and so hopefully people will enjoy looking at that.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think we're over our allotted time again, Darcy, but this is your fault. You put us on the air. I blame you, Darcy. Thank you.
She lets me go on television.
We love her. Thank you, Darcy, for what you do for us, all the stuff, editing and so forth and so on.
Take care. Keep your mask on and get your shots.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to have one right now.